Hi everyone, I am Sairish.
And I am Jack, and welcome to Learn with Jesse. We hope that this video finds you well. In this video, we are going to have a continuation discussion that focuses on one of the curriculum development models. This is the HILDA TABA'S models.
This video has the learning objectives, which are to explain and discuss HILDA TABA'S model, grassroots approach, and explain the 7 major steps of our linear model. Last time, we've discussed about Ralph Tyler's model, 4 basic principles. And now, we are going to have an in-depth discussion about the HILDA TABA'S model, grassroots approach. Let us have first an overview about it.
HILDA TABA is an Estonian-born American educator, curriculum theorist, and researcher. TABA's most significant contribution to the field of education was her development of the TABA's model, which emphasized a learner-centered approach to curriculum design known as the grassroots approach. The grassroots approach advocated for starting curriculum development by understanding the needs and interests of learners, and then building upon that foundation to create meaningful and relevant learning experiences. TABA's work laid the groundwork for modern curriculum development practices, influencing generations of educators worldwide.
The first step in the linear model of the HILDA TABA'S model involves the diagnosis of learners' needs and expectations of the learner society. This step is crucial as it sets the foundation for designing an effective curriculum that is responsive to both individual learners' needs and the broader societal context in which education operates.
Diagnosis of learners' needs. This aspect of the first step involves understanding the individual characteristics, abilities, interests, and learning style of the students. Teachers need to gather data on the learner's current knowledge, skills, attitudes, and experiences to tailor instruction accordingly. This may involve various assessment methods, such as interviews, observations, questionnaires, standardized tests, and portfolio assessments. By diagnosing learners' needs, educators can identify their strengths, weaknesses, and area of growth, ensuring that instruction is personalized and relevant to each student.
Expectations of the larger society. In addition to understanding the learner's needs, it's essential to consider the broader societal context in which education takes place. This includes identifying the expectations, goals, values, and norms of the community, culture, and society in which the learners are situated. Educators must recognize the roles and responsibilities that education plays in preparing students to become active and responsible members of the society. This involves understanding societal trends, challenges, and opportunities that may influence educational priorities and outcomes.
By this, educators can design a curriculum that addresses both the individual needs of the students and the larger societal expectations. They may incorporate a variety of teaching methods, including interactive simulation, debates, multimedia presentations, and community service projects to cater the different learning style and interests while promoting active citizenship and civic engagement.
The second step in the linear model involves the formulation of learning objectives. Once educators have diagnosed the needs of the learners and understood the expectations of the larger society, they can proceed to establish clear and specific goals for what students should achieve by the end of the instructional process.
Identification of desired outcomes. Educators begin by identifying the desired outcomes or learning goals they aim to achieve through instruction. This outcome should be aligned with both the diagnosed needs of the learners and the expectation of the larger society. They should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, also known as the SMART approach.
Breakdown of learning objectives. Once the desired outcomes are identified, educators break them down into smaller, more manageable learning objectives. These objectives specify the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that students need to acquire to achieve the desired outcomes. Each learning objective should be clear, concise, and focused on a single aspect of learning.
Hierarchy of objectives. Learning objectives can be organized hierarchically to show the relationship between different levels of learning. This hierarchy typically ranges from lower order cognitive skills, like remembering and understanding, to higher order cognitive skills like applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating, following Bloom's taxonomy, which we'll be having also a broader discussion later on, or similar frameworks. Educators ensure that the learning objectives progress logically from basic knowledge and comprehension to more complex skills such as analysis, synthesis, and evaluation.
By formulating these learning objectives, educators provide clear guidance on what students are expected to achieve and how their progress will be assessed throughout the instructional process. This objective serves as a roadmap for curriculum development, lesson planning, and instructional delivery, ensuring that learning experiences are purposeful, coherent, and aligned with the desired outcomes.
The third step in the linear model involves the selection of learning content. Once educators have formulated clear learning objectives, they proceed to choose the appropriate content that will facilitate the achievement of those objectives. This step is crucial as it determines what information, concepts, skills, and experiences will be included in the curriculum to support students' learning and development.
Alignment with learning objectives. The selection of learning content must align closely with the identified learning objectives. Educators should ensure that the content chosen directly contributes to the attainment of the desired outcomes. Each piece of content should be relevant, meaningful, and necessary for students to achieve the specified learning objectives.
Diverse sources and perspectives. Educators should consider a variety of sources and perspectives when selecting learning content to provide students with well-rounded understanding of subject matter. This may include textbooks, articles, multimedia resources, primary sources, case studies, real-world example, and expert guest speakers. Incorporating diverse perspectives promotes critical thinking, fosters empathy, and encourages students to consider different viewpoints.
Progression of complexity. Learning content should be sequenced in a logical progression that gradually increases in complexity and depth. Educators should consider the cognitive development and prior knowledge of the students when determining the order in which content is introduced. This ensures that students build upon their existing understanding and skills, moving from simpler concepts to more advanced ones in a scaffolded manner.
Integration of cross-curricular themes. Educators may choose to integrate cross-curricular themes or interdisciplinary connections into the selection of the learning content. This allows students to explore connections between different subject areas and apply their knowledge and skills in diverse contexts.
Relevance to learners' lives. Learning content should be relevant and meaningful to students' lives, experiences, and interests. Educators should select content that resonates with students' cultural backgrounds, personal experiences, and aspirations, making learning more engaging and relatable. Connecting learning content to real-world issues, challenges, and opportunities helps students to see relevance and applicability of their education beyond the classroom.
By carefully selecting learning content that aligns with the learning objectives, engages students' interest, and promote real-world relevance, educators create meaningful learning experiences that support students' growth and development. This approach ensures that the curriculum is dynamic, responsive, and enriching, fostering deep understanding and lifelong learning.
The fourth step in the linear model involves the organization of learning content. Once educators have selected the appropriate content, they need to structure and organize it in a way that facilitates effective teaching and learning. This step ensures that the learning experiences are coherent, logical, and meaningful for students, guiding them through the process of achieving the desired learning objectives.
Sequencing of content. The organization of learning content begins with determining the sequence in which the content will be presented to students. Educators considers the logical progression of concepts and skills, arranging the content in a sequential order that builds upon previous knowledge and leads to the attainment of the learning objectives. Content may be structured chronologically, thematically, or conceptually, depending on the nature of the subject matter and the learning goals.
Chunking of information. To prevent cognitive overload and facilitate retention, educators chunk the learning content into manageable units or chunks. Chunking involves breaking down complex information into smaller, more digestible parts that are easier for students to process and understand. Each chunk of content should focus on a specific topic or concept, with clear connections and transitions between them.
Integration of learning activities. Educators diversify the presentations of learning content with various learning activities designed to engage students actively in the learning process. These activities may include discussions, group work, hands-on experiments, simulations, problem-solving tasks, and multimedia presentations. By integrating learning activities throughout the organization of content, educators promote student engagement, participation, and deeper learning.
Differentiation and personalization. Educators differentiate instruction by tailoring the organization of learning content to meet the diverse needs, interests, and abilities of students. This may involve providing alternative pathways or resources for students who require additional support or challenge, adapting the pace of instruction to accommodate individual learning styles, and offering choice and autonomy in how students engage with the content. By personalizing the organization of learning content, educators create inclusive learning environments where all students can succeed.
Assessment and feedback opportunities. Throughout the organization of learning content, educators embed opportunities for assessment and feedback to monitor students' progress and inform instructional decisions. Formative assessment strategies such as quizzes, exit tickets, peer assessments, and reflective journals allow educators to gauge students' understanding, identify misconceptions, and adjust instructions as needed. By providing timely and constructive feedback, educators support students' learning and growth throughout the instructional process.
By organizing learning content in a coherent and engaging manner, educators create meaningful learning experiences that support students' understanding, critical thinking, and retention of key concepts. This approach ensures that instruction is purposeful, student-centered, and conducive to deep learning.
The fifth step in the linear model involves the selection of learning experiences. Once educators have organized the learning content, they need to design and implement a variety of learning experiences that engage students actively in the learning process. Learning experiences encompass a range of activities, tasks, and interaction through which students acquire knowledge, develop skills, and construct meaning.
Variety of learning modalities. Educators select learning experiences that cater to different learning modalities and preferences, including visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile. This ensures that all students have opportunities to engage with the content in a ways that resonate with their individual strengths and learning styles.
Authentic and real-world context. Learning experiences are designed to connect the learning content to authentic, real-world contexts that are relevant and meaningful to students' lives. This may involve incorporating case studies, simulations, project-based learning, or community-based projects that allow students to apply their knowledge and skills to solve real-world problems or address genuine challenges. By grounding learning experiences in authentic context, educators increase students' motivation, engagement, and transferability of learning.
Collaborative and cooperative learning. Educators create opportunities for collaborative and cooperative learning experiences that promote peer interaction, communication, and teamwork. These experiences may include group discussions, cooperative projects, peer teaching, and collaborative problem-solving tasks. By working together with their peers, students develop social emotional skills, critical thinking abilities, and a deeper understanding of the subject matter through shared inquiry and dialogue.
Differentiated instruction. Learning experiences are differentiated to accommodate the diverse needs, interests, and abilities of students. Educators provide multiple entry points, pathways, and options for students to access and engage with the content at their own pace and level of challenge. This may involve offering choice in learning activities, providing scaffolding or support for struggling learners, and extending opportunities for enrichment or extension for advanced learners.
Reflection and metacognition. Learning experiences incorporate opportunities for reflection and metacognition, allowing students to monitor their own learning progress, set goals, and evaluate their understanding. Educators design activities such as journaling, self-assessments, think alouds, and reflective discussions that encourage students to think critically about their learning process, identify strengths and areas for growth, and make connections between new and prior knowledge.
By incorporating a variety of engaging and meaningful learning experiences, educators create rich and dynamic learning environments that support students' understanding, motivation, and agency in exploring and addressing complex and environmental issues. This approach fosters holistic development and empowers students to become informed and responsible stewards of the environment.
The sixth step in the linear model involves the organization of learning activities. Once educators have selected learning experiences, they need to structure and organize these activities in a coherent and purposeful manner to facilitate effective teaching and learning. Learning activities encompass a wide range of tasks, exercises, and interactions designed to engage students actively in the learning process and promote the attainment of learning objectives.
Alignment with learning objectives. The organization of learning activities begins with ensuring alignment with the identified learning objectives. Educators carefully design activities that directly support the attainment of the desired outcomes and contribute to students' mastery of specified knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Each activity should be intentionally linked to one or more learning objectives, guiding students toward the intended learning outcomes.
Sequence and progression. Educators sequence learning activities in a logical progression that builds upon students' prior knowledge and moves them toward deeper understanding and mastery of the content. Activities are scaffolded to provide gradual challenges and opportunities for students to apply and extend their learning. Educators consider the cognitive complexity of tasks, starting with simpler activities and progressing to more complex and open-ended tasks as students develop their skills and confidence.
Differentiation and personalization. Learning activities are differentiated to accommodate the diverse needs, interests, and abilities of students. Educators provide options for students to engage with the content in ways that they are accessible and meaningful to them, offering choices in terms of content, process, product, and assessment. Activities may be adapted to provide additional support for struggling learners, challenge for advanced learners, or accommodate different learning styles and preferences.
Integration of technology. Educators leverage technology to enhance the organization of learning activities, providing opportunities for digital collaboration, communication, and creativity. They incorporate digital tools and resources such as multimedia presentations, interactive simulation, online discussion forums, and educational apps to engage students and facilitate deeper learning experiences. Technology is used strategically to augment and enrich learning rather than as a standalone component.
Active and experiential learning. Learning activities prioritize active and experiential learning approaches that engage students in hands-on exploration, inquiry, and discovery. Educators design activities that encourage students to actively construct their own knowledge through first-hand experiences, experimentation, and problem solving. This may involve laboratory experiments, inquiry-based investigations, fieldwork, simulations, role-playing exercises, and project-based learning tasks that promote active engagement and deep understanding.
By organizing learning activities that are aligned with learning objectives, sequenced logically, differentiated to meet diverse needs, and engaging students in active and experiential learning, educators create dynamic and enriching learning environments that support students' development of critical thinking, communication, and problem-solving skills. This approach fosters deeper understanding and mastery of the content while empowering students to become effective communicators and persuasive advocates.
The seventh step in the linear model involves the determination of what to evaluate and the means of doing it. Once educators have implemented learning activities, they need to assess students' progress and achievement of the learning objectives. Evaluation involves identifying the criteria for assessing students' learning, selecting appropriate assessment methods, and interpreting the results to inform instructional decision and support students' ongoing growth and development.
Identification of assessment criteria. Educators begin by identifying the criteria or standards against which a student performance will be evaluated. These criteria should align closely with the learning objectives and specify the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that students are expected to demonstrate. Assessment criteria may include content knowledge, critical thinking skills, problem-solving abilities, creativity, communication skills, collaboration, and self-reflection.
Selection of assessment methods. Educators select appropriate assessment methods and tools that align with the identified criteria and provide valid and reliable evidence of student learning. Assessment methods may include formative assessment, summative assessments, and authentic assessments.
Diversification of assessment approaches. Educators diversify assessment approaches to capture the complexity and diversity of student learning. They use a combination of assessment methods, including traditional assessments, performance assessments, observational assessments, and self-assessments. By using multiple assessment approaches, educators gain a more comprehensive and holistic understanding of students' strengths, weaknesses, and areas for growth.
Alignment with instructional strategies. Assessment methods are aligned with instructional strategies and learning experiences to ensure coherence and consistency in the assessment process. Educators use assessment as an integral part of teaching and learning cycle, embedding assessment opportunities throughout the instructional process to inform and guide instruction. Assessment tasks are designed to reflect the authentic and meaningful learning experiences provided to students, allowing them to demonstrate their learning in contextually relevant ways.
Feedback and reflection. Assessment results are used to provide timely and constructive feedback to students, informing them of their progress, identifying areas for improvement, and guiding their next steps. Educators use assessment data to scaffold students' learning, offering targeted interventions, enrichment opportunities, and personalized support as needed. Additionally, educators encourage students to reflect on their own learning, set goals, and monitor their progress over time, fostering metacognitive awareness and self-regulated learning.
By carefully selecting assessment criteria and methods, educators ensures that assessment practices are fair, valid, and reliable, providing valuable information about students' learning and informing instructional decisions. This approach supports students' ongoing growth and development, empowering them to achieve success and reach their full potential.
Here's a summary of the key components of the HILDA TABA'S grassroots approach.
Number 1. Diagnosis of learners' needs and societal expectations.
Number 2. Formulation of learning objectives.
Number 3. Selection of learning content.
Number 4. Organization of learning content.
Number 5. Selection of learning experiences.
Number 6. Organization of learning activities.
And finally, determination of evaluation criteria and methods.
When pertaining about the grassroots approach, we should bear in mind that it emphasizes student-centeredness, relevance, and coherence throughout the curriculum development process, ultimately aiming to promote meaningful learning experiences and holistic development.
By centering instruction around the needs and interests of learners and connecting learning to authentic context, educators create meaningful and empowering educational experiences that supports the students' growth, development, and success. And that concludes our discussion for today.
And see you in our next discussion on Galen Saylor and William Alexander Curriculum Model.
Have a good one!